Rams, welcome back to ArcNeo Reviews, where less of a review today, actually, and more of a fun ramble fest looking at how certain things in the action figure world have changed over the years. I'm genuinely just going to be looking at a series of figures that over time have been sold as Marvel Legends. And one thing I will say as like my immediate disclaimer, there might be some figures where I get the like the time wrong or the line wrong. It's a little hard to tell, but you know, instead of saying we're looking at Marvel Legends, we're just going to say that we're looking at 6-inch action figures. So we're going to start with the single oldest of these figures I have. I want to say this was Marvel Icons Venom. And this is easily the most primitive figure I have for a 6-inch figure. He is struggling to stand quite badly. I need to see if I can shoot some kikis or something into his ankles there. His ankles are very loose. Every other joint's held up pretty well, but the ankles are loose, so I do have to hold him to keep him standing. But you can see really, really awesome kind of metallic paint all over him, actually. Love the way they handled the tongue and the ooze going between his teeth and everything. This is a really cool looking figure. But then you try to pose it, and you realize that this thing's not up to much. So, you know, you think of the head joints on modern figures, you know, the ball joints and everything. No, wait, he just has a single rotation. There is a universal at his shoulder, which is nice. It's weird that you can see the pin in it. But, you know, you get the rotation, you get outward, then some. Break his arm if you need, so that's cool. But there's nothing at the bicep. There's elbow joint that doesn't go very far. There's a hand, like his fingers for some reason, even though they never really look natural in any position you can put them in. And I know that doesn't mean much for Venom, but especially this hand with like the one come hither finger sticking out there. Waist rotation, which is nice. It appears to be like a pseudo ratchet going on there or something. Okay. Then there's the legs. Like he's got old like Wonder Woman legs. He's made to fly the invisible jet. The knee bend range is pretty neat. He's got his ankles go back and forth really well, actually, better than a lot of modern figures, to be fair. And he even has like the little toe things. Now part of the reason that I'm saying I'm not going to like be super accurate on when things are made and stuff like that is this figure in particular has proven to be a pain in the butt trying to nail down like what he is. It's like he was sold as a Playmates, or I think it was Playmates had the Hasbro Legends license before, you know, Hasbro did. You know, they did the weird opening hands and stuff, but he says Hasbro on his foot, and I don't know if this was sold as being a 2006 figure, yet he's 2005 according to this. It's a little clearer to make out in person than it is on the camera. So yeah, trying to nail down exactly what I'm holding here as someone who wasn't in the know of action figures at that point, I'm not sure what's going on exactly with, you know, is this Is this a a Hasbro mold? Is this Hasbro making a Playmates mold? I don't know what's going on here. Either way, though, this is the oldest Venom I've got, and you can see how, again, 6-inch figure, you expect really primo posability. This guy just ain't it. But very quickly, we'll go to the next Hasbro Venom I've got. This one I know is Hasbro for sure. This is from 2008. And this is where things start becoming a lot more what you expect with a modern 6-inch figure. Now, we're kind of going to ignore the big tail back here, because that's very unique to this figure. Like, I don't think even any figures of Scorpion as Scorpion have this tail in this, way. Normally, I guess it seems to be just like a wire with, rubber around it. But, yeah, this guy is far more what you would expect. I know for a fact this one's a Hasbro, this one's 2008, and he's more what you expect. You come up here, you start messing with the head. He's got some up and down. You can see some people have probably already done stuff to tighten that joint. That or it's just soft plastic, rubbing off a little bit over time. But, there's a hinge in there, and then there's a ball joint. So, it's limited on some of the stuff it does, but at least it does stuff. Still got a universal here in the shoulder. Very, very tight on this guy. No bicep swivel, sadly, but you do have the elbow. It's funny, till I put him in front of this ring light, I didn't notice all this kind of purple on him. I thought he was just solid black. That's actually really cool. It doesn't show to the naked eye very well. But, the hands are completely modern Marvel Legends. You've got a rotation pin in there, and then you've got outward and inward rotation. You've got, I don't think it's a ball joint in here for the torso, because it seems to only go back and forth and rotate. It moves more like a universal. There's no side to side. But, you do have that. He can bend down. He can arch back a little bit. You've got a very, very exposed hinge right there at his waist. You've got this kind of old style of using universals in the hips, which, it's not got the greatest range, but it is definitely better than the last guy. You've already got double jointed knees like we're used to. His feet go back and forth. You don't have the ankle tilts like you would expect nowadays, but overall, this is still a vast improvement for overall figure articulation. And this is also a figure that I was just so excited to finally get my hands on, with the big crazy tail and everything. I still hold this as the single ugliest figure in my collection, and I adore him for it. And then you get to what was pretty much the golden standard for 6-inch figures for the longest time. This is the 2014 Venom, at least according to his foot. This is what so many Marvel Legends figures are like to this day if you go pick them up. You've got, the head is on a hinge that's then holding a ball joint, so you get rotation there, and then you get some extra stuff up there at the ball joint. This guy does have a beefy neck, so it does hinder some of his side-to-side stuff. Still got universals in the shoulders and all that. You finally have the bicep swivels, the double-jointed elbows. Hands are exactly like the last guy. You've got a more defined kind of ab crunch spot on him, which usually is like a 3-position ratchet kind of thing going on. You still got the really, really bad looking waist joint down there. Unfortunately, with these muscly leg figures, the extra joints do end up looking like it ends up breaking the sculpt pretty bad. But you've got a ball joint in there for the hips, so he can mostly kick forward. He doesn't go back very much because of the way they handled his butt. You've got a thigh rotation. You've got your double jointed knee. You've got a mid-shin rotation. You've got forward and back on the feet, as well as rotation, tilt at the ankles. And this just is what 6-inch figures were for the longest time. Yes, we're primarily looking at Hasbro ones, but most figures, that are trying to compete in this market are the same. I've got a number of, McFarlane DC figures, same posability. You can go grab the bigger, figures. We've got another, not Eddie Brock Venom, but it's all the exact same stuff. It's the same ratcheted crunch in the abs. Same, pin holding the ball joint for the head. Like, as big as this guy is, he has no more articulation than the other guy did. And in some ways he has less, because one, he only has single jointed elbows, though even if they were double hinged, I don't think you could bend his arm anymore anyway. Because yeah, the sheer bulk of this idiot, as with most of these big figs, does kind of get in the way of stuff. Then you have, this mostly showed up in Spider-Man figures, but I do have at least one Carnage that also has this, where you actually get a butterfly joint added to the shoulder. Like, you're only going to see that on figures that either are Spider-Man or are made on a Spider-Man mold. I really wish more figures had these shoulder butterfly joints. These are great. And you can see they've shifted how his waist articulation works. So the more clicky ratchet joint has actually been put down here lower. And then the upper torso has become a ball joint, which, for a design where there's just this big spider painted on him, it still breaks the mold, but it doesn't break it as much as the other guys. Still a really cool figure. You can see even Venom taking similar stylings. I've done a full review on this guy a while back for a Halloween video. This was the figure so amazing, it's terrifying, or something stupid like that. He definitely has a better ball joint system going up on the torso here, which he very much better. With how much extra mass he has compared to Spider-Man. I believe this is basically what they're basing the new Carnage figure off of. I've got a pre-order on that one. I cannot wait for it. But there is also one more Venom to throw in front of the camera here and show the posability off. And that is this behemoth that I know was made by Toy Biz. I want to say this is Marvel Icons, like San Diego Comic-Con Venom or something like that. This figure is absolutely astonishing. Funny enough, 90% of the posability on him is the same as the smaller guys we looked at. But you've got, the joint up there in the head that's then, got a ball joint on it for the neck. I'm missing the camera. He's got a flappy lower jaw and like a wire tongue. It's just so... Like, this thing feels nasty to touch. I love it. But he's got the same kind of, ab crunch section going on here. It's not ratcheted the way it would be on a newer Marvel Legends, from Hasbro. He's got the old, kind of universals up in the hips, which means, if you fuss with it, you can get things situated so that he kicks forward and somewhat back. Rest of the legs are pretty standard. Double jointed knee. There's a rotation right there in the lower part of the calf or shin, whichever. He's got toes, which is nice. Not enough of these figures have toes. Ankles, got all the stuff on them you would expect. Given this guy's age, yes, it is impressive that he's got, like, if he had the newer hips, this guy would feel just like a modern day Marvel Legends figure, except that they did something you can only do with a figure this big. They articulated the fingers individually. And that to me is just so cool. Now, he is missing a wrist rotation. Instead, it's kind of put up in the middle of his forearm. Which, to be fair, as greebly and gooey as they made this guy, you don't have that same kind of issue of breaking the sculpt. Because this guy's already such a mess that, like, you can pretty much get things to line up and look like it's supposed to be going that way, even if it's not. So, but yeah, that was just a fun little thing I wanted to do, just kind of showing how, just relatively recently, again, the oldest figure here, yes, it's, oh my gosh, it's 19 years old. Like, action figures aren't something that really get a lot of improvements. Like, you can still go get a 5 POA Star Wars figure that feels like it was made in the 70s. So I thought it was fun to go through and kind of look at some of the, what is effectively the mainline way of getting, especially like superhero figures and stuff, the 6-inch ones, except for this idiot. And just kind of see how they've been changing and doing things different over the years. But thank you guys for watching and joining me on this rambly trip down whatever. And I will see you guys next time.